Remember back in the day when you taught me to live and I taught you to pray. We went in the battle together, no matter the weather, we never delayed. You gave me commands, I always obeyed. I never let you go astray. I never thought I'd see the day that you would come and just betray me. Sick of playing silly games, you never loved me anyway. You should not have let me get away, cause now I'm hunting for my prey. I'm bigger, I'm better, my mind is a weapon. I won't ever let up. You try to break me down and I'ma just get up. They ask me how I did it, I'ma just tell them I rose up. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise. Staring at you from afar, analyzing every scar, asking myself how we got here. Remember, this is who we are. I am not here for revenge. I did not come to make amends. Not here to repent for my sins. I just came here to win. I just came here to end. I just came here to fight. Show you everything you said I couldn't be. I became overnight. This for the blood, this is for the tears, this is for my pain and my plight. Two walked in, but only one of us is walking out of here tonight. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise. I'm a survivor. Fight for my life. Coming back stronger. I will arise.
All right, welcome back, Wolfpack. Dire Wolf here for another weekly news recap. Behind Enemy Lines on YouTube, where speeches is. Yeah, sorry, I'm not on the right spot.
Are you okay?
I had to go turn the fan off. Sorry. Where speech is not free, it's demonetized. I just realized I was probably really loud behind me, so I had to.
That's why I said your audio was really loud when I made you.
Which is why I went to go turn the fan off. Anyways, alongside me is my co-host and producer, Fox Trivies. How are you doing?
Not too bad. You know, it's funny. You always say I'm alongside you, but I'm like very far away from you.
But you're here in spirit, and that's all that matters.
There we go.
Hey, this show it only happens because you guys, help us make the show happen. So I want to thank all the guys who sponsor us. Thank you very much. Kaylette, Ori Main, Nathan, Cameron, Touches Freak, Slowpoke Garcia, Thunder Erican, who is female, White Lion, Timberwolf, and many others. Guys. We appreciate all of your support. We really do. It makes this show possible. Also, if you're not supporting us financially, that is nice. You can always do something just as helpful is liking, sharing, and subscribing, because without you...
Oh. We appear to be losing Dire. I don't know if he...
Sure.
Hello? We're losing Dire. I don't know where he went. I think he got abducted. There's a network problem. Are you back? Anyways, you guys know what he meant. He meant that you guys, much appreciated for all your love and support. Those of you that donate financially, much appreciated. Those of you that like, share, subscribe, that also helps out. As you guys know, YouTube does not help us out very much with the algorithm. And Dire is still talking because he doesn't know that he's only coming in every 18 words. But yeah, much appreciation for you guys sharing us out there. That's the only way that we can grow and get new viewers, because certainly none of the algorithms or social media networks are going to do that for us. I was hoping that while I freewheeled that intro in place of Dire, that he would get reconnected. but it appears that he is not. So give me 1 second while I attempt to reestablish connection. I believe, if I had to guess, he definitely got abducted, either by aliens or Al Qaeda or ISIS. But you can be sure that he will give them hell. All right, Dyer, come on. Okay. Well, I'm sure he will. I guess it's the Fox show tonight. Okay. Well, I'm gonna jump into our first story, I guess, because I don't know, Dyer, if you're listening, give me a call back. You know my number. So let's see here. I apologize for that, guys. Let's see. So, first story tonight is the left has finally started to call out cancel culture, but only after it came for them. It's actually funny, this Stone Toss cartoon here. A lot of people on the left started sharing this cartoon this week, and it's funny because the left tends to hate Stone Toss because he's an edgy boy. But this is really a apt description. This image really captures this whole idea of cancel culture. I've noticed a lot of the moderates have been kind of. Oh, I think Dyer's back. Dyer, are you back, Dyer?
I'm on my phone. Hold on. You keep calling me, but I'm just having to restart the app on my computer. The computer's fine. I don't know. Just Skype died.
Yeah, Skype's awful.
I hate it.
Well, I was kind of freewheeling on the first story, so you can keep listening while you attempt to call me back on your computer if you'd like.
I mean, how bad's the audio on the phone right now?
It's not terrible.
Okay, we continue while I still try. We're going to have to swap over later on, but I could continue as we are. Where'd you leave off?
I hadn't done anything yet. I was just talking about the little Stone Toss cartoon. That was funny. I was going through the, this cartoon really captures the idea. I've been seeing a lot of moderates or so-called moderates lately, saying like, oh, it's finally about time that the people in Hollywood are finally calling out cancel culture, and this. I really don't think there's anything valiant or great about the left finally calling out cancel culture now that the wheel has come for them. You got a bunch of people in Hollywood that are a little concerned now that they really Hollywood's basically said that they only want black actors and actresses in anything, and all of a sudden you got all these liberal actors that are like, oh, they've been down your throat for forever saying that you're a racist piece of crap, even though they've got 18 mansions and have a bigger carbon footprint per hour than you will your entire life. Yet somehow they've continued to call you the bad guys and have not said anything when your free speech has been rolled over by the stone. And I really don't see anything great or special about them having the wheel come for them now. And after now that so many people on the right have been canceled and they have bounced back, and I really don't see any reason for them to pull back on the wheel now. Just let that cancel train keep going all the way through the left. I mean, it's already plowed through who it's going to plow through on the right. A lot of people resisted it. A lot of people were able to survive it. Not perfectly, but it was survivable. So I guess we'll let the left figure out how that works. Otherwise, if we save them, they'll never know what it was that was bad about it. They have to experience it. Otherwise, they'll never know, and they'll just try to do it again.
Yeah, and I think that we can mitigate the effects of it. So they might, because they're on the left, get crushed by that stone. But I think that conservatives and their audiences are not going to be as affected by it. It's going to be the left that's going to be more affected by it. You can keep holding them to their standard. They create this monster. Okay, well, you get to experience the benefits of it.
Well, and the right's been dealing with and adapting to that for 5 or 6 years now. Yeah.
Now, the only really solution to this is it's a loud minority, right? It's not the majority of people who care about the things that they're trying to cancel people over. So the only real way for this to destroy this is for it to stop being effective. So they have to take some people in places of power at businesses to grow some fucking balls and stop, actually caving to the loud minority. That's not going to happen on the left, but it will happen to companies that are owned by the right.
And it's
Or
not
could.
about vengeance, because I'm seeing this with the riots, which is a bunch of our stories coming up tonight, where the people in power, Portland in particular, Seattle in particular, the mayor didn't do anything about Chaz until they came to her house. They got St. Louis. The mob was trying to find the mayor's house. You got a bunch of these different places where the establishment doesn't give a damn about anything that's going on until the mob comes for them. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, this is a violent riot. Like, we need to put a stop to this. And it's not vengeful for me to say that they need to be the first ones up against the wall, so to speak. They need to be the first ones the mob goes to their house first. They need to be the first ones canceled, or at least experience it, because they have proven, it's not about vengeance, it's about teaching them. They have proven themselves incapable of learning through observation. The only thing that's going to get us out of this entire American culture war, is that the elites have to experience all of the negative side effects of the policies they are proposing. There's no other way. They care so little about you that they are incapable of learning about that through observing the negative effects on you. It has to be learned through experience on the negative effects on them. So I say, don't stop cancel culture. Keep it rolling through them.
There's no sympathy for the person who ignored the oppression of their people, or in the case of the riots, the governor and government leaders who ignored the literal assault and killing of their citizens and the destruction of their property, ignored it and praised the ones committing those acts of violence. You get no sympathy when that person who is praising those acts of violence then has those acts of violence committed against them, and you get no praise for being willing to call it out only when it comes to your door.
Yeah. And again, like I said, it's not about vengeance or like Schadenfreude. It's just there is no other way to explain it to them. And they will not stop doing it to us. The elites, the people in power, they will not stop doing it to the rest of us unless they understand why they need to stop. So let's get into the actual written part of the story. So for a long time, traditional liberals and conservatives have called out the illiberal and intolerant cancel culture on the left. It is the product of the small-minded people unable and unwilling to consider any ideas other than what they have been taught, and who believe anyone accused of believing anything different is evil and should be destroyed. There is no room for dialogue, no room for evidence, and facts and data do not matter.
These intolerant radicals have been used as a tool by the political left to shut down conservative dissent and their political rivals. Maxine Waters is among the other many who have actively encouraged them to go out and harass conservatives. However, this monster that has begun to turn its ugly head towards the left as well, and they are starting to realize that no amount of virtue signaling can save them. This has led to high-profile Democrats seeking to speak out against cancel culture. One recent example that shocked some on the left was Obama, who, a bit late, decided to call out cancel culture. Here's a video of it.
This idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities. Yep. People who do really good stuff have flaws. Like if I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or used the wrong verb, or then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself because, man, you see how woke I was? I called you out. That's not activism. That's not bringing about change.
Wow, Obama. Thanks.
Where were you in the last 8 years?
I think he was investigating Trump.
Well, it's the last year, yeah.
Yeah, so in 8 years, Obama said nothing as cancel culture was used to attack conservatives. And you could even say he did a bit of canceling on his own by sicking the IRS and his dog Lois Lerner after conservative nonprofits and his FBI journalists and his FBI after journalists that criticize him and after politicians that opposed him. Obama only speaks out now because he has nothing else to lose, and I'm sure that at some point it's going to come after him. And it's kind of funny too that he's sitting there saying like, well, if I just sit back here and, say something woke on Twitter, that's not real activism. You got to actually go out there and do something. What's he doing right there? He's just sitting back, just doing a speech, probably raking in $100,000, doing a speech somewhere, God knows what, not actually accomplishing anything, just patting his wallet, doing the exact same feel good that he just accused the left of.
The irony. So the reason why he's speaking out is because of his party is being attacked, not him personally. So he has nothing. He's not risking anything. When he had something to lose, when he was the president, when he was a senator, he had something to lose because of cancel culture. But it wasn't affecting him then, so it wasn't a problem. But now, where are they going to cancel him from? Really, he has money. He is no longer, going to be able to lose public office. He has nothing left to lose. So he's comfortable, but he is speaking out because his party needs the help, because Biden is being attacked by the far left because in their mind, he's doing a lot of good things. He's the one they can defeat Trump. Don't look at all the racist shit he's done in the past. He's made mistakes. Everyone's got rough edges. That's kind of the narrative he's playing into. He's trying to defend Biden in this clip.
Yep.
So the New York Times put out an article recently saying in their opinion section that I'm a black feminist. I think call-out culture is toxic.
You guys heard it here first. Dyer's a black feminist.
Right. That was definitely not a quote. So they did an article that was calling out, saying that call-out culture is toxic. The problem with the New York Times article, like all the other recent call-outs from the left, is that they don't disagree with the tactic of calling someone out. They call it just holding them accountable and shutting them down and keeping them out of universities and stuff. They don't disagree with the tactic. They disagree with who the targets are. It's not a principle position. It's that we just want this done to our enemy. Don't do it to us. You're hurting the march forward for progressivism because you're hurting progressives. You need to only hurt people who aren't progressive. The problem is that they haven't learned what the problem is. It's that the tactic is wrong.
Well, and it's we've talked about this a bunch of times. The left kind of likes to play political jiu-jitsu, where they'll just fold themselves up into any shape for whatever the current purpose is. It doesn't have to be ideological consistency. It's, I want to do this thing because I'm authoritarian, and I'm going to reverse engineer a reason why we should do that. So, I want to protect the elites in Hollywood because they're my team, and I want to ban all the conservatives off Twitter because they're not my team. And I'm just going to, whenever I'm talking about one of them, I'll make up a position that supports it. When I'm talking about the other one, I will make up a value proposition that supports that one. It doesn't have to be consistent at all.
The way they describe it is, okay, let's say they're describing both a Democrat and a conservative who've done something that was offensive, right? Intentional or unintentional, it doesn't really matter in this context. They did something unoffensive, and they'll describe the Democrats being, he's great, he has made small mistakes, we should move on from it, he can apologize. And then they describe the conservative as a literal Nazi. That's why you should cancel him, because he's actually a hateful, bigoted Nazi. Whereas you shouldn't cancel the Democrat because he just made a mistake. He wore blackface not knowing what it means, not knowing it's hurtful. We can move on from it. He's not really a racist. But then, the conservative says, I believe in border security, and that's a fucking Nazi. Way worse than blackface and dressing as a KKK, or both. We're not sure which one he was.
I can confirm Howitzer Dyer is indeed gray. Harper's Magazine published an open letter, which I believe is called the Harper Letter, which I guess that's why I couldn't figure out why it was called the Harper's Letter. Now I know it's from that magazine. It was an open letter signed by many famous and well-respected by who, Dyer? Did you just copy-paste that?
That was a quote, sorry.
So, well-respected by themselves. It was signed by many famous people who well respect themselves. Criticized the letter criticized progressives, among many other things, for quote a vogue of public shaming and ostracism. I think better referred to as the Twitter rope shears. That has led folks to being fired. Oh man, what a drab. What got the Hollywood elites finally speaking out wasn't how conservative and political voices had been silented, but that people like them, people like the Hollywood elites, were about to lose their jobs. The thin veneer of concern for the, quote, little people, the average, everyday Americans, wasn't the catalyst for them finally speaking out. It was that they were at risk of losing their jobs. Woke politics risks destroying the ability to be a performer in general. We've seen this from a lot of different areas where people are getting in trouble because they're the wrong race, or they're not the right gender, or they were the right gender.
Voice actors play something that they're not in a fantasy film where it's a fucking robot.
Which one was that?
There is Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, she's a robot? I didn't watch the movie.
I'm not gonna.
You just spoiled. All right, spoiler alert, guys. I just ruined Ghost in the Shell.
It's called Ghost in the Shell. It's the shell is the robot. All right.
Woke politics risks destroying their ability to perform in general. This was far from a principled stance. They still approve of the tactics of cancel culture. They just don't want them used against them. And they probably most of all have the ability to stop it. They are the, for better, mostly worse, they are the cultural leaders. They could, make it cool to not cancel people if they so wanted, but it didn't affect them, so they didn't care. That's what I was saying earlier. They have a no care. They look down from their high castles, have no empathy for us commoners, and they don't see any issue with them making decisions causing us harm. So the only way, and it's not Avengers, it's not Schadenfreude, they have to have these things happen to them, otherwise they will never learn, and probably not even then. But they have to be subject to the exact same consequences we do. That's the only way a Republican democracy, little r, is able to continue functioning. We are specifically, nearly uniquely, not a caste society. What happens to what policies are enacted among the country have to affect all people, all social strata and stuff like that. It has to be effective against all people. You cannot have this class of elites that is, not subject to the same stipulations and regulations that the commoners are. That's not how the society was built to function. They have to be subject to the same consequences that they're advocating we be subject to. Otherwise, Absolutely. It'll never stop. It'll just never stop.
So Harper's letter also states that the forces of liberalism are gaining strength. The forces of illiberalism are gaining strength throughout the world and have a powerful ally in Donald Trump, who represents a real threat to democracy. Trump is aligned with actual liberals and conservatives in defending free expression, has been consistently. And these people who are complaining about Trump in this letter are the same people who have been supporting cancel culture. The irony of them making this statement in this letter is just you can cut it with a knife.
I have to guess that it's what their problem with Trump is probably his work to do prison reform and working with Kanye and Kim to pardon thousands of working through to get them black people out of the prison system that were put there for low-level drug offenses that got escalated for no reason. I bet you that's why they're pissed at Trump, is because he's letting black people out of prison. That's what I would assume. I don't know what else they'd be upset about Trump for, but that's
based on our video from yesterday. I would assume that's probably the problem.
That's probably the problem.
It was the Democrats that have worked for the last for years to abuse the power of government and to use propaganda to literally subvert our democracy, not Trump. Trump has not damaged our democracy, but the FBI and the Democrats in the media and politicians, they are actually trying to deconstruct our democracy. We've even had Ilhan Omar, wasn't it? Say that he wants to tear down our political system.
Yep.
We've had Ocasio-Cortez say she wants to destroy our current voting system and also completely revamp our economy into basically not an economy, more of just a wasteland. Sorry, Green New Deal, which would result in a wasteland, starvation, and death. These people want to fundamentally, change our country. They're the ones trying to destroy our democracy, not maintain it. Trump has he's pro-America. He's America first in his mindset. That is not destroying democracy.
America is racist. Le racist. So there's nothing good can come from it.
Right. The authors of the Harper Letter lamented that cancel culture has resulted in editors being fired for running controversial pieces. Yes, but liberal-run companies are also firing conservatives even without outrage because of them silencing those voices internally. Books being withdrawn for alleged inauthenticities. How do you say that word?
I did know how to say it, but then I don't know what you just did. You broke my brain.
Inauthenticity.
There you go.
So basically, it wasn't written by a black person, but they wrote about black people, so thus it must be canceled. And yet that book was drawing attention to the plight and the problems of black people in slavery. So it was actually a good and educational book, but because it was written by a white person, now it has to be removed and canceled. That's the point of what they're saying here. Journalists being barred from writing on certain topics because of their race or their gender identity. Because I'm not unicorn gender, I can't write about people who are unicorn gendered.
You should be pissed at the author of White Fang, because I don't think he was a real wolf, and as a wolf, you should be highly
letters.
Yeah, you should be highly offended that he was trying to adopt your culture.
Really, the core of the core idea in the hate mob that's affecting the left is the idea that you have to be the thing to talk about the thing. And now they're realizing, all these predominantly wealthy white people in Hollywood and news media, we're not those things.
Whoa, Dyer, you are going. I don't know where you're going. You're going through a tunnel or something. I think.
I am?
Yeah, you just got really far away. I don't know what the hell.
You know?
Now you're
fine.
fine.
Okay, so these wealthy white people in Hollywood and in news media are realizing that, the thing we've been advocating for, where you have to be the thing to talk about the thing, means that we now are being boxed out of the industry and can no longer get jobs. We've advocated for our own replacement.
I think after COVID for the last 6 months, and the Hollywood movie industry has been massively suffering. We haven't really had to go, really difficult to do movie releases and stuff like that, and all the all the actors and stuff like that trying to do those stupid TikTok videos, stuff like that, trying to desperate for any kind of attention, and just nobody cared. The general public just didn't care. I think that's probably one of the lessons that we can keep after COVID that I think a lot of people would like. Let's just continue to not care what the hell's going on in Hollywood.
Yeah, they never really mattered that much in the first place. So we had professors being investigated for quoting works of literature in class, or even fired for repeating what Martin Luther King had said. Because he talked about Martin Luther King having talked about nonviolence, a professor was fired. Ridiculous. That's not a school. That is not a place of higher learning. Researchers have being fired for circulating a peer-reviewed academic study. Yeah, because there's hate facts, and if you're actual scientific studies and facts contradict our hard-held beliefs that we were taught in college without any evidence, well, then that you must be wrong and also hateful for having this solid data. The heads of organizations are ousted for what are sometimes just clumsy mistakes. See, the problem is they describe Democrats and left-leaning politicians or leaders. When they make a mistake, it's a clumsy mistake, because repeatedly smelling and touching small children is a clumsy mistake that you do every time you meet them impulsively. But when someone on the right messes up, says something they did not mean to say, or they said something 10, 20, 30 years ago, they're Nazis. That's the problem, is they don't have a problem with a tactic, just who it's used against, and they describe people on their side very differently than they do on the other side. They're not objective about it at all. This monster the left-wing media and academia has created and nurtured is now has grown far too big for them to control, and now is turned on them. And, I think that Fox is right. I think you should definitely reap the rewards.
Otherwise, they'll just re-release it on us again. That it will never stop. Ever.
Now, that means it's going to be really painful for society as this monster continues to...
I actually, as opposed to most of the previous cancel culture, I do not think that cancel culture, canceling all of Hollywood, I do not in any way believe that would hurt the general culture at large. I do think that would actually be a net benefit to most of us commoners. I don't see any problem with that, actually. There would be no detriment to us. It would just be a curiosity to watch.
Here's how I look at it. So while cancel culture is actively removing jobs from the people who helped create cancel culture, it will also continue to be a barrier to creating any kind of media that is based on good storytelling. Until our society rids itself of the
but these people are not the current people are not capable. They are not intellectually or creatively capable of doing that. We lose nothing by canceling them. We only free up space for somebody who might be intellectually and creatively capable of creating stories as you've described.
Right. However, in the process that's going to come, it's going to be a while for our country to free ourselves of the fever of this ideology that's destroying Hollywood and any kind of creative media.
Yeah.
We're not.
I think it's important too on the academic side is a lot of the professors that are getting canceled. They are. They have been collaborators in this whole thing. I really find it hilarious that Eric Weinstein has any validity or respect at all, just because he was one of the first ones up against the wall at the Evergreen. He was so surprised when they came to cancel him, yet the ideology that canceled him, he sat there in that school for like 20 years, was not able to recognize it for what it was not able to recognize that it was a bad thing. And he was so surprised when it happened. I'm sure all these other professors, I'm sure that professor that was, saying the Martin Luther King quote, there are professors doing those studies, they are all enablers. They all, at the very minimum, they were enablers of what has been going on at the universities. Again, the history didn't start yesterday. Those people didn't just pop into a brand new world that was invented yesterday where they just happen to be a victim of circumstance. No, they were active, possibly passive participants, but that's just about as active. They sat there, they watched it, they didn't speak up for decades. They sat there. And then all of a sudden, and this wheel cartoon, it's the exact same thing for the universities. They just sat there and watched this thing happen, and then they didn't think it was going to come for them because they thought that they were woke. That's what happened to Eric Weinstein. He thought he was super woke, And he was so surprised when the mob turned on him, and he didn't understand why. Yet some reason, Eric Weinstein is a figure of wisdom that we should go to help analyze the situation. Like, he doesn't understand it. There's been other groups of people, conservatives, commentators, have been calling this stuff out for 20 years, who saw it for what it was back in the 2000s, warned of what was going to happen. And for some reason, these professors and these elites in Hollywood, they've just been sitting there watching it, either not recognizing it for what it was or knowing what it was and thinking it wouldn't come for them. And for some reason, because they're the ones that were first up against the wall, they're the founts of wisdom, when the people who have seen this coming for decades, they're still being ignored.
Right. So though it's no great loss that they are losing their jobs, is also keep in mind the system that is resulting in them getting kicked out is also keeping out the conservatives, voices that could be combating it. Right. So it's not the solution. The solution is that we need to, stop cancel culture in the schools, so that we're actually having, conservative voices and dialogue just being permitted. So even though it's not a great loss, they're being kicked out because they were collaborators and they're part of the problem. It's also not the solution, right?
Well, I don't know. I guess that depends on if you think the universities in Hollywood can be saved. I seem to think that the rot's so deep, you need to flip the whole system. I mean, they want a revolution on the country because they think the rot is so deep. I want a revolution in academia because I think the rot is so deep. I don't see.
My opinions about colleges.
Yeah, like I don't see. Again, like I don't see this like this renaissance, this enlightenment period that you're talking about. I don't see any path for a conservative to get any grounds at all in that, any kind of rationality to get grounds in the way the system is currently set up. So I don't like even the medium term, like even in like the next 10 years, I don't see what you're saying as like a possibility that would ever happen, just because the system is so corrupted that in the short term, the solution is, I'm not too upset about them getting canceled, because the alternative is that
not a solution. That makes you're not upset about it, but it's still not a solution, right?
No, it is, because it gets them out of there. The alternative is that they stay there.
The schools are still putting out, still counseling people, still keeping out conservatives, and still teaching people to be stupid for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, but not canceling the people that have enabled that. How is that going to ever lead to conservatives being able to get it? All that does is enable the double standard.
Those aren't the two options. Neither things are solutions. I'm saying that yes, this is fine, but it is not the solution. And the solution, I think, is, like you said, is a culture that's moving away from these universities, and that's going to be a long-term thing. But right now, even though I'm totally fine with them, reaping the rewards of their own works, it does not solve the cultural problem that we still have schools being basically a manufacturing process for idiots.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. I mean, it wasn't a contradiction to the point that you were happy that they were leaving.
Well, no, you were just saying that like it would like a reason. What you were saying was that a reason to stop cancel culture is because it would stop, because it would allow conservatives to get a foothold in there, and I just don't see that as a possibility.
No, that's not what I said. I didn't say we should. That is the reason to stop cancel culture. I'm saying that the solution to our schools and cancel culture is not this, and we need we need a different solution. We don't just look at this moment and say, yeah, I'm happy about this. We actually need a solution to the problem eventually. This is not it.
Well, that's what I said. Right? You got to flip the whole system. The whole academia needs to be flipped. It needs to be defunded and rotated. There needs to be something that goes on with that. And I hopefully some of this movement on that Trump's got with China, and these this new round of very intense looking sanctions coming out of the Hong Kong executive order that he gave, that could be the thing that flips the universities. You could see like half the academia just getting arrested for colluding with the enemy. That would be something. That would be something that would fix this real quick.
I think it did. It takes their assets, but does it actually get them arrested?
I think so. I don't see how you can have your assets seized without being arrested, or at least charged with something. I don't know. We got to move on. We have way too much time on this one. So
yeah.
All right. So our next story is the feds begin detaining rioters, and the left is crying, "Tyranny, tyranny! How dare you!" I believe they're also crying that. How dare you? This week, federal police agencies, after 7 weeks of rioting in Portland, have started detaining and arresting rioters who attacked federal facilities and officers protecting those facilities. They have been forced to take action when the federal the federal troops they were forced to take action when Oregon State and Portland City government refused to do anything about it and use their own police to protect federal government buildings that are being hosted in their cities.
Exactly. Not only have they refused, that being Oregon and Portland and other Democrat-held states and cities, refused to take action to enforce the rule of law or protect their own citizens' lives and livelihoods, meaning their lives and also their businesses, they have actively encouraged the riotous insurrectionists. Riotous insurrectionists. As you will see from this clip, they have immediately opposed the federal agents. So even though they refused, so not only have they refused to enforce their own laws and protect their people, they're also opposed to the federal government, even in any part, even any small part. They're opposed to them enforcing their rule of law. Let's watch this video.
There's been fierce blowback and calls for an investigation after reports that federal officers are pulling Portland protesters into unmarked vans. The reports raise various questions. Among them, are the feds driving unmarked vehicles? The video suggests, yes, they are driving an unmarked van, which is not uncommon for federal law enforcement. But a former U.S. attorney for Oregon under the Obama administration says transparency is critical.
Look, it's just central for accountability that we know who's doing the arresting, who's being arrested, and what they're being arrested for. You can't hold folks accountable. You can't ensure that we're following the rules and following the Constitution if you don't do.
He wants there to be a FOIA request available at the second that the officers come in contact with the rider. He wants there to be a full report of everything as soon as they're touched. He's a fucking idiot. All that stuff's available. All that stuff's gonna be public record. All that stuff's available for comment after the arrest is complete and the detention is complete. All of that stuff is known. They know. He's saying, well, we need to know who that was. They do know who it was. We need to know who's driving the car. They do know who's driving that car.
All you can talk about is
they
money
just said
and
that.
fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
Slowpoke Garcia says for $2. Thank you. He says, everybody on Twitter, here it is. Trump's a tyrant. All you conservatives need to fight back now and help us. Me, who doesn't like the government. Hey guys, you guys say something? The guys, nah, I didn't hear anything. Yeah, it's it's the same thing with the academia and the previous story is, all they've been sitting there. Literally, Antifa's been literally terrorizing. I mean, literally in the literal sense, terrorizing the population of Portland for 7 weeks, and then one of them gets arrested, and it's bedlam. Oh my God, can you believe this? We're so outraged, so much outrage. I wonder. I bet you the homeowners in Portland would like to know who's blowing up their federal buildings, who's graffitiing and firebombing their car. I'm sure that they'd like to know who the unmarked vans roving around Seattle were killing black kids. I'm sure that the people of Portland would also like to know that stuff about Antifa. But again, like I said, this guy is sitting here complaining, well, we don't know who is arresting him. Yes, you do. You just said that you knew that it was federal officers. Well, we don't know who's driving that car. Yes, you do. You just said that it was federal officers, and you have a video of those federal officers getting into that car. Well, we need to know where he was being taken. You know where he was being taken because you also reported that he went to a detention center and was interrogated for 5 hours and then was let go. They're we need to know all this stuff, and it's an outrage that we don't know this stuff that we just reported. Just the just rock bottom idiocy of just I don't know. I can't believe people. I actually I do. The sad thing is I do believe people are capable of sitting here watching this saying, wow, they just reported that federal officers took them in an unmarked car and they didn't know who was driving the unmarked car. Yeah, man, that's crazy. That's awful. I really believe that. Yeah, we need to know who this stuff is. We can't just have random mystery federal officers taking them in random mystery cars driven by random mystery federal officers to random mystery federal locations that we just reported on. How can you have these two things in the same sentence? Just
cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, it's just outrageous. I just cannot comprehend it. It is like the peak of doublespeak.
Yeah. So first off, an unmasked vehicle is legal for police to use. They do it all the time. It is not something unheard of. In fact, he's acting like this is strange. Is funny. He wants the audience to think this is abnormal and illegal, but it's not. So also, when they asked the federal agents about this, which by the way, their uniforms did say police on them, and so they were marked, right? They did have DHS markings on their uniforms, so it wasn't they weren't hiding that. But as soon as they asked the federal agents about what had happened, they provided who and what happened. There was accountability. The information was readily available. That's why they have this information to report to you.
I guess they didn't realize that they should have called this guy at 2 a.m. and just told him what they were doing. I guess they didn't realize that they were supposed to call every citizen in America and tell them that they just arrested this random guy in Portland because he was firebombing the courthouse.
Yes. So anytime there's a detention or an arrest, say a traffic stop, and someone gets arrested because they stole the vehicle, are they supposed to call everybody and tell them?
The way that stuff is known is the media reports on it, and the media has been reporting that the federal officers have been there. I recognize.
All you can talk about is money
Slowpoke gave us more
and
money.
fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you!
We need to pick a shorter intro animation or donation sound. So Slowpoke gave us $2. He said, I saw people keep saying this is going to happen to the rest of us, and I knew it was BS. The world burns around me, and I don't care because I know who started the fire, and it wasn't the mystery Fed rounding up the retards for government sex dungeons. Somebody tells me the Antifa guy would have liked that. That is exactly what the left is trying to imply here, right? They're trying to imply that, well, if they just have, this is basically what the Nazis did. They just had unmarked vehicles. I don't know, it's probably horses back then. Just rounding people up and black bagging them and taking them to secret facilities, and that could happen to you. And the rest of normal people, like Slowpoke. Well, I don't know if I want to call Slowpoke normal. Normal Americans and Slowpoke will look at this and say, yeah, but I'm not a retard. I can understand what is going on here. I understand why he got arrested, and I understand that this is not this guy, this Antifa guy, all clad in black in riot gear, riot gear for a rioter, because he was in a hard hat helmet, so he was looking for action. Firebombing and graffitiing the courthouse. We're all rational enough to look at that and say, yeah, I understand why he's being arrested, and I don't think that arrest is indicative of the government just rounding people up at random and black bagging them. Because I'm not an idiot.
I also want to point out that they reported first that he was arrested, but that there was no arrest report. But they also go on right after to say that he was detained because he was detained, not arrested. They also, I'm not sure if we got that part of the clip, but they say, well, there wasn't just cause for an arrest, but there was reasonable suspicion, which is all that's required to detain someone for questioning. And then if the questioning doesn't result in evidence of a crime, they are then released. This guy was detained, questioned, and then released. The only thing was that they decided to do the questioning at the courthouse removing him from the riot so that police are not in the middle of a riot questioning someone where they are free to be attacked by said rioters. Which is all, when you know the full story, this is all very rational and not a problem. But the way they're describing it is to make it sound like there's a huge problem.
Is the rest of this video worth watching, or is it just this guy droning on about what a complete idiot he is?
I just described what the rest of the video was about him complaining.
I can't watch another 90 seconds of that.
Yeah. Claims there was no arrest report, and that the guy was released after an hour because he was detained.
Get closer to your mic.
He complained that there was no arrest report and that the guy was let loose after 1 hour because he was detained. So, of course, there's no arrest report. And, of course, he was released after questioning. What's the problem?
It's just like basement level IQs here. Let's see here. So the federal police, Federal police provided a long list of individual incidents covering 7 straight weeks of daily attacks on federal property and federal police officers in Portland, in addition to the destruction of the city generally, which is known just by using your eyes. Like, prove it. Like, look before you. This list included ambush attacks on officers with hammers, a slingshot, bottle rockets, and fireworks. I think there are some beer cans being thrown too.
And all you can
and
talk
so
about
forth.
is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
Let's see here. Slowpoke gives $2. Thank you very much, Slowpoke. He says, Tim was saying in a video recently that rioters are pretending to be journalists and medical workers. Woo boy, that's going to be some war crimes right there if we try to play these kind of games. Yeah, we're not really at war with them, so I don't know if it's going to be war crimes. But yeah, that's Tim did say that. I believe that he has good information on that when he says that they were pretending that they were being medics. You know, every Antifa is a medic. You know, it's they're sitting there doing tourniquets when somebody gets a boo boo. That was a few weeks ago that they were doing that. And I do vividly remember the quote unquote Antifa medics after other Antifa members murdered. They killed one black kid and they desperately shot up another one with 300 rounds for no reason. And I remember the one medic saying, she was very proud of the work that they did, even though the kid died. It was really all about her. So, really A+ medics there.
Also the medics helped remove evidence of the shooting too. That's nice.
Oh yeah, really good job. I believe even in war though, if the medic is partaking in the attack, they become fair game. Is that right?
Yes, it's true. Yeah, so there's 2 kinds of medics in the military. There is a medic that does not carry a weapon and has the Red Cross, and they are not legal combatants. You do not shoot them. Also, they have the Red Crescent. They're not combatants. But there's also combat medics that don't wear any medical markings, so there's no confusion, and they are medics that also carry a rifle and shoot.
Yep. So I would say,
and they are legal. Those are legal combatants. Because they're engaging in conflict. It doesn't matter if they're a medic. They're still combatants.
And if we're not in war and no one's we're not shooting at them with live ammo, then I would say they don't have any foundation for being a medic or not. Let's see. So there's been a lot of stuff going on in Portland and a lot of the cities. I don't think for the left to pretend that there's this is just all out of the blue. Again, it's the history of right now. The world just spawned in this state today. There was no history. There was no 5 minutes ago. They're just pretending that Portland hasn't been, and every leftist city hasn't been just completely on fire, burning down for the last 7 weeks. So there hasn't been a just ridiculous amount of attacks on law enforcement and just mass amounts of civil unrest, just pretending that this is just out of the blue. Federal officers just showed up and just rounding up people at random. I believe he was a white guy too, so I don't know. I mean, presumably if the left gets what they want, they're gonna have federal troops rounding up white people anyways, so maybe they could look at it as just Trump's getting a head
All you
start
can
for him.
talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
How dare you?
All right, Slowpoke says, let me read this slowly. Not gonna lie, the way things are going, as soon as the shooting starts, if you listen closely, all you can hear is a sound of boisterous laughter coming from Texas. I'm just fucking done now. Alrighty. So let's see. So the federal government has the right and responsibility to protect their facility and personnel the same way we do. We defend the U.S. Embassy in war-torn Libya, which is what Portland, Oregon, California, and Nazi York are quickly starting to resemble. And just like with Libya, maybe we should start considering whether or not we should be there in the first place. Portland's Governor Kate Brown and Senator Jeffrey Merkley demands that the Fed leave. Maybe we should give them what they want, but all federal services should leave with them. And I really agree with that. I think I talked to Dyer about this earlier. I think that we should be abandoning federal court buildings all over the West Coast, and because there will be no viable federal court buildings on the West Coast, they would have to shut down the Ninth Circuit Court, and the Ninth Circuit Court would be unable to make decisions, and that would be, it would just be a real sad thing to lose that court. But we got to give the rioters what the rioters want. So I think that we should do that.
Nothing good comes out of the Ninth Circuit. We'll just bypass them completely. In any case, the question is the government stepping in to stop the tyranny of the mob, tyranny itself? And the answer should be an obvious no. The federal, thank you. So the federal police are the only ones that are willing in these Democrat-held places to stop the tyranny of the mob. It is not freedom for the mob to, it's not even a civilized society for the mob to be able to freely go around and destroy people's homes, businesses, and attack people and murder young black kids. That's not democracy or freedom. That is not even a civilized society. And they keep trying, they are continuing this violence, letting it continue, and then blaming it on Trump, even though it's their inaction. And then even when Trump kind of through the federal police are doing something to protect and enforce the law, they criticize that and want them to leave. These people hate you and want you to die. Why do you live in their cities? Why do you live in their states? And why do you vote for them? They hate you and are willing to let you suffer and die for their political gain. They're using you as pawns to make Trump look bad, which is only an idea that we believed by stupid people who would vote for them. Probably you. You fucking morons.
Well, and again, I keep going back to this. There keeps being, it's just because it's the way things are. But like, there's this pretending that the world started yesterday. The people there that are quote unquote suffering from this mob, they voted for all this. Is there? I think maybe there was a recall for the Seattle mayor. I'm not sure if there's a recall for the governor, but if I think this would be a good rule of thumb for Trump. If the governor says that they don't want federal troops there and the people have not initiated a recall on the governor, then that's what the people want, and Trump should respect that under the federalist system that we have. If the states are little labs of democracy. If one of those little labs wants to try to turn themselves into a socialist hellhole, as long as they don't affect the other states, they are free to do so. However, if one of the governors tells Trump to F off and the people are initiating a recall of that governor, then Trump should go in there and help out the people. He should go rescue the American citizens from their illegitimate government. That would be a good rule of thumb, I think.
People of Portland and Seattle and all the other Democrat hellholes, if it makes you angry that we point out that it was your voting and it was politicians that you put in power that are the ones letting this happen to you for their political gain. If it upsets you, it's not my fault. It's just the truth. It's your fault. You fucked up. You're the reason why your buildings are burning. You're the reason why your children are dying. It is you, in your hands. Your choices had consequences. Now, if you want to fix it, that's also in your hands. That's your choice you have to make as a community, right? But don't look at me. Don't blame Trump. Don't blame conservatives. And definitely, don't blame Slowpoke in Texas, because they were not involved. That's all you.
Slowpoke probably is worthy of blame, but just not in this.
It's not for that.
Yeah.
You blame Slowpoke. A lot of sexual assaults could be blamed on Slowpoke, but a lot of other debauchery. But the fact that these riots are happening is one of the few things you cannot blame on Slowpoke.
Alrighty, so let's see here. We'll skip that part. Next story.
Sure.
Alrighty. No one, and I mean no one, will trust the results of the coming election, unless of course Trump wins, and then I will trust them fully.
That's the irony.
Not afraid to say that.
Yes, you're right.
Because I think if Trump wins it, I sincerely doubt that the Republicans are going to be moving the vote around. That's not their MO. That is the left.
My point is that half the country is going to be unhappy either way, and then say it was just fraudulent, no matter what, who wins.
Yep.
The Democrats are already seeding the ground, saying that Trump's going to cheat the election, and the Democrats have already proven that they are likely to cheat the election.
Do you have the thing in here about Biden? What Biden just said when he got the security debrief?
No.
Okay. So Biden, as is pretty typical, the nominee from both parties, even if they're not the president yet, they'll start getting security briefings. I think Biden still probably retains quite a bit of his previous security clearances, so that makes it a little bit easier for him to get security briefings. And he just got one, and it was yesterday or the day before. He was talking about it at a press conference. I don't know if it was a press conference. I think he just made a statement. And he was talking about he got briefed that there was going to be Russian interference in the election and in the realm of voter fraud. And so he's saying all this stuff. And first off, okay, we're trying the Russia thing for the 18th time. Okay. But he actually accidentally confirmed that mail-in voting is going to be insecure because the Russians are going to try and take advantage of that. So even Joe Biden knows that the mail-in voting is not going to be secure. Either way, though, we have the left that has been calling for mail-in voting as a primary way to vote for the coming election due to COVID-19. Mail-in voting is inherently less secure than ballots that are changing Mail-in voting is inherently less secure. Ballots are changing hands multiple times between voters and counters while they're going through the mail-in system, the U.S. Postal Office, which, as we all know, is extremely reliable.
Very reliable.
There is a limited ability to verify who is mailing in the vote, so that allows for what is called ballot harvesting. Ballots are often sent to the wrong people and people who are dead, and even kitty cats that are dead. Did you see that story?
I did.
Yeah, it was funny. There's I don't remember what state or city it was, but some nice lady, she got a mail-in absentee ballot for her cat that died 11 years ago, and in her interview she was talking about what a sweet cat he was, and that he probably wouldn't be interested in politics, but it worries her. What if other dead cats are getting mail-in ballots? What if they're sending them to dogs too? And she actually said what if they're sending them to dogs too? I was like, man, she is on top of it. That is a concern. What if? What's next?
Yeah.
What's next?
That is a serious conundrum. What will we do if dogs start voting?
I think
that's a problem.
I think we'd have a much better country if only dogs could vote. I mean, they're all pretty good boys. I think that there would just be more requirements to pet them, but I think that overall it'd be a net gain. So despite this
Can you
obvious,
imagine the pandering to the dog vote?
yeah, you just got to give them bacon and pets. You'd have to pet Shadow a lot more. So despite this obvious problem with mail-in ballots, the left has claimed that mail-in voting in mass is safe. History tells us otherwise. Even when mail-in voting is kept to a minimum, mail-in ballot fraud is still one of the leading voting fraud causes in our country.
Yes, currently there's a database that tracks confirmed cases of voter fraud that includes currently 1,285 cases and growing. Now, keep in mind, voter fraud is often hard to catch, particularly when it comes to mail-in voter fraud. It's kind of hard to catch, so most of those cases are not confirmed. But what the cases have been confirmed should be very concerning. So Olivia Lee Reynolds was convicted for 24 counts of voter fraud while working in 2013 on a campaign for her boyfriend, Doniphan City Commissioner Amos Newsom.
Can we just agree that the punishment for voter fraud should be public hangings?
I don't think I should co-sign that.
I'll co-sign it for you. See, that's voter fraud.
All right, so
I got your absentee ballot right here.
Reynolds filled out voters' ballots for them and told others for whom to vote for. The last part is contextually matters. If you're telling people who to vote for at the polling place, it's actually a crime. Just saying, "Hey, Fox, you should vote for Trump," that's not a crime.
That's a crime. Public hanging.
So her fraud had definite consequences. Commissioner Newsom won a re-election by a mere 14 votes, far fewer votes than she actually had written herself. He lost the in-person vote, like people coming into voting stations, by a wide margin. But he incredibly won 96% of the absentee votes.
Huh. A little statistically significant. Howitzer says in chat, "Cats and dogs voting together, pandemonium." Yes, I agree.
Sorry.
Let's see here. So, a Houston County jury found Lisa Coleman guilty of 7 felony counts of absentee ballot fraud related to the 2013 election for a city commissioner seat. Coleman received a 3-year split sentence in jail, I presume.
Yes. So another case would be Miss Berry, who pled guilty for receiving 2-year suspended, and who received a 2-year suspended sentence, which is ridiculous. The former Pike County Commissioner narrowly won and then lost her 2018 re-election bid when 10 absentee ballots were found to have been fraudulently cast in the election. Ms. Berry was charged with mailing in illegal absentee ballots. Basically, she mailed in at least 10 ballots for other people, and she was actually the one running. So this is the point of telling you these cases that this is there's many cases of fraud, and often the way these people were caught was by chance.
Yeah.
There is a system to catch people, to look for discrepancies, like someone signing the same way on multiple ballots, but that does not catch all of them.
So we also had Gaynell Tinker, which is the most fairy name I've ever heard. A former circuit clerk for Hale County pleaded guilty to multiple counts of absentee ballot fraud after her scheme to orchestrate fraudulent absentee ballots for the benefit of multiple candidates was uncovered. She admitted to falsifying the ballots of 5 voters to benefit certain candidates, including her brother, Circuit Court Judge Marvin Wiggins, and her husband, Senator Bobby Singleton, which is from Greensboro.
Yep. So more than 800 mail-in votes in New Jersey's largest cities have already been recently
set aside, according to a county spokesman, as the election is marred with allegations of voter fraud. This is going on right now. This is a current case. So some people's votes might be thrown out because of these, ballots being lost, or whether or not they were legitimately mailed in correctly or not. Sometimes the problem is that people are voting for someone else. Sometimes the problem is because of the ambiguity, people's votes that are legitimate votes are not being counted. Those are both problems.
Yep.
There have been over 1,000 verified and well-documented cases of voter fraud, and many of them are from mail-in voter schemes. Many of the cases were of people that voted multiple times, even just putting in multiple ballots. Some cases involved only a few votes, and some involved many thousands of votes. Often the fraud is only discovered after the election is over. Even when fraud doesn't take place, recent examples have shown that ballots have gone missing and were not counted. So it's already hard for our system to count and manage the absentee vote ballots we currently have when they are a very small percentage of the current votes. If you then take a system that is still not even to accurately not functioning very well with small numbers, and then make that how everyone votes, it will magnify the problem many times over. And when you talk about elections where people are winning by 14 or 100 votes, and we have this many fraudulent cases and this many votes being, fraudulently sent, then you're talking about the ability to completely sway the presidential election, and will definitely create the problem where no one will know for sure whether or not the election was fraudulent or not. It will probably be assumed that it was, and I'll tell you that we have voter fraud cases on both sides of the political spectrum, so it's going to cause concerns for both parties.
You also got the issue, too, of mail-in voting is not nearly as instantaneous as in-person voting is, and so, it may be that we get to Election Day, and which I don't know if Dyer knows this, but I'm telling him we're streaming all night for that. But we might get to Election Day and get to the next day when they normally have announced who has won the election, and the count might be 5% done at that point. Like, it could take weeks. It could go well into December before we know what the final count would be, just because this is not a system of voting that is as readily tallyable as using the little computer systems. So that's
it will result in the devolving of the news media as they panic over the vote. They'd be devolving over a longer period of time. Remember how their attitudes changed?
Yeah.
As each state came in, they got more and more panicked. It'll just take longer for them to go through that process.
Well, and here's the thing too: is it also it widens that window of when large scale voter fraud could happen. So, if you wanted to widely change a lot of votes, you have a couple hours on election day to do that. You have to do it within that window, otherwise you've missed your window. Now, if we smear that out across a couple of weeks, you can sit there and kind of watch, be like, okay, we kind of thought that Biden was going to get Michigan. Looks like Trump got Michigan. Okay, well, Pennsylvania, they're only at 30% reporting. So why don't we go knock some boxes off the back of a truck into a ditch and make sure that state doesn't swing? And so it gives you an opportunity, if you want to commit voter fraud, to kind of look at how the field's going, and you can kind of target where you want your effect to be. And you can still, again, large scale voter fraud would be possible weeks after the vote was supposed to have been cast.
Exactly.
Alrighty. Next.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Let's touch that chest, though.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
If you're on YouTube, you probably don't know what we're talking about, but head over to DLive. That is because we'll be getting off YouTube here in a second. I will share the DLive link in YouTube chat, though. I see we got Avanova over there.
I'm sorry, YouTube folks, that we have to leave you, but we kind of got to encourage you to go over to DLive because eventually YouTube's going to get rid of us. If you're on Twitch, you're fine. Stay there. I see the two of you over there. But if you're on YouTube, we're not long for YouTube. We create content that they do not approve of, and we will eventually get deleted. So if you want to make sure you can continue seeing this content, please go to DLive.
Alrighty.